If I rule the world, I love 'em, baby.
If I Rule the World podcast welcomes Neil Rubenstein.
Do I say hi here? Hi.
You would say hi.
Hi.
Waving is not going to
sorry.
translate on the podcast.
Oh, it's not a video?
We're not. No, not yet. Definitely,
Okay.
we're waiting for the sponsors to kick in.
Yeah, you got to get that bread. Got to wait for the Patreon to kick in. Patreon. Yeah, so
How do you feel about that?
I think it's awesome. Go for
You
it.
know?
Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I think there's certain circumstances where I'm like, come on, guys. Maybe not Patreon. I think, okay, Patreon, I'm pretty much pro Patreon across the board, but like I've seen bands do Kickstarters
Yeah.
for like a van.
Yeah.
And I've seen like producers do Kickstarters for like a movie, but it's like you have money and you're a producer.
Right.
Like these people are just going to get the movie that they would have to buy. Like just make the movie, dude.
It feels like if you have cancer, we'll donate to your thing. But if you just got to put out your EP and it's a couple $100, come on, man.
Yeah, where are our filmmakers with cancer? Those movies will get made very quick. Shout out to them.
You gotta make them
Well,
quick.
I'm not saying it has to be a combination of the two.
But you do have to make them quick. If
Yeah. Only terminal. But
these are called Make-A-Wish movies.
I think
It's a bad start.
Yeah.
This might get cut out.
I think at this point, certain things like, if you want to support like a movie or something that's getting done, like I don't really see the harm in it, but there are people that do random shit that, like, I've seen some Kickstarters for certain things, but those people are usually on drugs and I know them personally. But like for, if, I don't know, Sebadoh or something like that.
Yeah, you can't. I can't allow it.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like, veto the...
What about Eve 6?
Yeah, veto it, man. Like,
okay.
you guys, there's other way... Now you're just taking advantage of your fan base, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me.
It feels inappropriate.
Yeah. Whereas, like, Patreon, for the most part, it's artists who, like, there's no patrons of the arts anymore. So
Right.
this is a way for fans to contribute to the creation of things that they enjoy.
Sort of like an ongoing thing, and it tends to be smaller groups,
Tends
Oh,
to be. There's
actually,
some
not
really
really.
big-
Yeah, there's some
there's
really
some
big
really
ones
big
that
ones.
use Patreon.
It's like a pay as you want, kind of like what Radiohead started with that record. It's
Right.
just like giving. It's like, okay, you like this show, like when I listen to the Josta podcast, he has like 100 different ways for you to donate to his podcast, and I get it. It's like, hey, if you like this, and kick in $10 a month for this imaginary subscription.
Yeah.
As long as you're not also bleeding those same people. Like, as long as they're getting all the content for free.
Yeah.
You're not saying, and for another $3, you get this.
Right.
And for another $6. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I've seen that model. Where
Right.
it's like, oh, subscribe to our 7-inch thing. And then, like, but if you want the 12-inch, it's like, it's still
Like if you want the
$25.
video of Neil waving in the beginning of this podcast, then you'd have to pay an extra $3
I think
a month.
that's where we're at again. So basically, we're trying to push that in. If you want us to have video, just fucking Venmo George some money, and we'll hire someone to sit here with a camera.
Cool. But enough about all that stuff. Let's talk about Neil.
George has been trying to get us on track this whole time.
Yeah, this is the
Enough
pain.
about what I'm going to edit out.
Yeah. Enough about the stuff that we're ready to edit out already. But Neil.
Listen, I am a one-man train wreck. I will derail this every opportunity I get.
I like that.
Okay. Sam likes that. George does not.
Yeah.
All right, no. Let's answer questions. I like
The
that.
Odd Couple.
No, this is your podcast as much as it is our podcast. You derail.
Are you guys?
Felix
Train wreck,
Oscar.
Are you guys? Are you? So, is it a Nas reference or is it more the concept that's brought up?
You trying to get us sued?
No, I'm just. I want to know.
Who's not? I never.
I want to know like what, like the impetus for this, because I know you, the type of guy you are, but I don't know. Is there a through line through these podcasts?
I'll tell you what happened. I was trying to think of a name, and you know what it's like. It's like naming a band.
Yeah, of course.
And I was actually thinking of naming it Velocity. I just thought it was a really good word. I have lists of words. I don't know if you have books and stuff
Sure.
like that. And I was like,
The name of my first album, the name of this,
Yeah,
the name
yeah.
of this is a cool thing for a band that I'll never do. This
Phrases
is if I was
I
in a
like.
grindcore band. Yeah,
shit,
exactly.
that comes up exactly.
Twat
And
Sticka
then-
is a name I've been trying to name a
Twat
band
Sticka.
forever.
That's good.
Right. Very
Is that a
close to
Screwdriver cover band?
Yes, all female.
Yeah, they're all female based out in Suffolk County.
But seriously.
And then I was like, well, there's kind of like two ways to do it. Like if you're naming a band, right? You could be Pink Floyd or the Beatles, where the name really doesn't mean anything. Like Velocity doesn't really mean anything. But if you want to be like, Rage Against the Machine or Public Enemy, there's like a statement.
You're saying something.
So I was kind of going back and
Wanted to
forth,
say
like
something.
this is better on a T-shirt. This is better. Like you'll think about that for a second and wonder, like you did.
Yeah.
Does that mean like you want to rule the world, or is it a fantasy? So I just was going back and forth, and I was like, that's a really good phrase. And then I Googled it, and there was no other podcast by that name. So there was a lot of factors, but I was like, yeah, let me move towards the direction of like a theory, like Public Enemy.
Question. Yeah. I like that.
Was
I
it-
like questions. I like call to arm, like call to actions.
Yeah, like Rise Against.
Yeah. Or like I use the example Taking Back Sunday's first album all the time. Like tell all your friends. Like it's a call to action.
Yeah.
It's just and it worked.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
did work.
to me, like that to me is like if I ruled the world, like a question, like a thought, like a thought thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you told me that name, I was like, that makes sense. Like it just worked. I don't remember how long it was till we started, but I think it was like very in the beginning stages. Because when you told me that, I was like, yeah, I like that more than the other thing.
Yeah, because you would just forget about a name like Velocity. Although I do like that as a word. But that's how we came up with it. And, that's how I came up with it.
Yeah, I came in like after
Yeah.
episode 2.
Neil, speaking of Taking Back Sunday,
Yeah.
as I've been researching you were on 2 of their records? 2
First
songs?
2.
First 2.
Yeah, first 2 albums.
Do you get gold records for that?
I got gold records for both of them.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Do you have them hanging on your walls?
I don't have them hanging because my landlord doesn't let me hang stuff,
Oh, okay.
but they're prominently displayed.
That's cool.
I'm proud. Those are cool.
Do you like try and work that into conversation? Just drop it in, like when you're hanging
I've
out?
never worked it. I've never tried to work it in a conversation, but I'll be damned if like I don't take a photo in my apartment where like they sneak in.
Yeah.
I'm angling and then I'm like, I'm gonna angle like this.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. Because how I know you is through the music scene that we grew up in, and I've known you for many years. And there is a musical history about you. Sometimes we walk down memory lane. We'll get into some of the music stuff that you've been through, but I want to talk a lot about, where you are right now as far as doing comedy. When Sam and I were talking about this before, we're like, I wonder what it's like. You're a front man, and then now you're a comedian.
Listen, this is gonna I'm not blowing smoke. This is fact. Any compliments I get on stage presence or performance, it's from watching you when I was young.
Thanks.
You commanded a stage like nobody else, and that translates to comedy, like even still, like, so people be like, people always ask like, oh, like, are you nervous on stage or whatever? And I'm never nervous on stage, and that's because I was in a band. You played to 4 people in a basement in the middle of Kentucky. Like you get over the awkwardness real quick.
It's harder than 1,500.
Yeah. You're bringing your A game to 4 versus 400 is way harder. So like never stage fright, never like nervous. And then someone has asked like, well, is that, because of the bands, whatever, 100%. And the way I got confident in bands is watching you. Because you would even early on, you would just like drop little nuggets that were like, oh, yeah, do that. And then like I'm able to translate that. So like you once said something about keeping your toes on the edge of the stage. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, you just dropped it in a conversation. It wasn't like about anything. You were just like, oh, I like to do this. It was just like a little pointer. And it was like, oh, yeah, because that commands authority. It also is inclusive. Like we're in the audience, but I'm separate from the. You know what I mean? It's just like it conveys a lot of things, and so like doing comedy, a lot of times when you first start, you want to hug that back wall, and I would just be like, nope, go to the front. I can always move back once I'm comfortable. Mm-hmm. So like where most comedians start off at the back and then have to work their way forward, I just started at the front. And that really it changes the way it changes your art. Go ahead.
And you're thinking like, if you said you watched me and you studied what I did, and I was obsessed with watching, I mean, not just singers but performers and especially comedians, because I think that's the hardest thing to do. When I was talking to Sam before, I said, I was watching a lot of Neil's stand-up that you had put on YouTube, just clips of whatever. And there's a thing where you're announced, and then it gets quiet, and then you sort of walked up, grabbed the mic, and you said something like, "Oh, I just got tense in here." Like you were so comfortable with not just trying to like hurry up and get the fucking joke out, and the pauses in between can feel like the fucking death of everything, or you got to hurry up and do something. Like I could see Chappelle doing that really, really well, and I was like, Neil has it. That's
you have great pacing.
Yeah, the pacing.
Thank you very much. Not to be pretentious, but I guess there's no way to talk about this without
Do it.
It's jazz, man. It's the notes you don't play. That's like a real thing. Like I've said this jokingly to other comedians, and like we make fun of it, but like. That's the reality.
Right.
Is like it's those pauses. It's holding for laughs and not walking on your laugh. You know what I mean? I've seen some comics who can climb on a laugh, and that's a skill I don't have yet.
Okay.
But outside of climbing on a laugh, like if you start talking while they're laughing, you're just killing your laughs.
Right.
I mean, some people beat Joe List, for instance, beats that where like he'll start talking on a laugh, but it's quick and it's articulate and it's funnier. And so you're still like it builds the laugh. But in general, like a open micer or someone like my level or below, like you're just killing your laughs.
Right.
And it's just like it's that hold. It's that like I don't know.
It's good. I think Jesselneck,
talking
Anthony
about
Jessel, he's really good at that. I think definitely he's got great
Yeah.
pacing.
He also has 3,000 people. He has to wait for them to all laugh.
Are you guys done? All right. Good.
Yeah.
That would be.
That's got to be a
that'll be the
skill
day.
too, because if you're like playing the Coliseum or whatever, the Garden, and the roaring laughter, when to come back in.
Oh, the wait, yeah. Because like Bolton Center has a different like wave coming back to you than like I'm at Patchogue Theater next week where it's like 1,500 people. So it's like that way. I've never experienced that wave before, so I don't know.
You did the Bolton?
We've done the Bolton a couple times.
Oh, that's cool. Shout out to Michelle.
And we're doing. I did Paramount once, which is 800 people.
Okay.
And I've done Gramercy once, which was like 650. So I'm like familiar with that, but I think 11 to 1,500 at the Patchogue Theater. I'm like, I wonder how delayed that is. You know what I mean? Like if that first pause, I'm like, go now? Okay.
Yeah.
No, wait. Okay.
Where did everything begin for you as far as like comedy? Like I don't think I ever knew that story. Like when did you feel like, obviously you go from bands to comedy. Like when did that hit you that you were like, I think I want to do this?
I don't know. This time, because I did it once and like failed at it and just kind of like packed up, took my ball and went home. This time was more just like I like bringing joy to people. There was like a Tim Conway quote, like he just passed, and there was a quote he said something to the effect of the joy in my life comes from the joy of bringing others, or in bringing others joy in their life, something like that. And I was like, oh yeah, is it? You know what I mean? Like I just.
And hearing you say that, how do I say this? It almost feels like it would be the opposite, and I'll tell you why. Because you bring darker comedy. Knowing you're like a darker guy. You're almost stoic sometimes when you're doing comedy. So that almost feels like I can understand Tim Conway saying that. Hearing you say that, bringing joy to others, I almost feel like you would be like the Billy Corgan, like the artistic. I got to do it for myself. This is just for me.
Oh no,
You know?
I don't know. I've always, because all my jobs and everything has always been around entertainment. It's always been like facilitating what the through line I've noticed is just other people's entertainment.
Okay.
Making sure a show goes off without a hitch, making sure there's entertainment at a nightclub, making sure that the DJ is good. You know, like all these like little things throughout my life, like, you know, working on television shows or whatever. It's just always been like, oh, let's make sure that people have a place to go Friday night. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't know, like, and even with comedy, like sometimes like people will book me on like ambushy type shows where it's like a bar show that no one wants to be at. They just come out to a bar.
Yeah.
And I don't perform well on those. I'm just like, these people are here. They're already having fun. They're not interested in.
Yeah.
It's like playing an acoustic set at a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yo, exactly. Like when I go out to eat with my wife and it's like live music, I'm like, nope.
we all are. We all are. It's so ironic.
What is that Onion article? The headline was so good. It's like couple unsuspecting that they're going to be that they're going to be supporting the local music scene or something like that. Man, really good. And yeah, that's O'Brien's what we were talking about. That was something like that. One of those places I avoid playing because it was 75% of the people that went there they weren't there to see a live band. 25% were, and it was just like, all I'm doing is keeping them from their jukebox, and they're not happy.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Say you open up for bands maybe you have no business opening up for, and you go, I'm going to try and like turn some heads, but everybody's there to see bands. But, you know, like comedians and musicians could be really precious about what they do and what they like, and there's often like the cooler thing to say is that I just do this for me, and I don't care if there's 5 or 5,000 people. But when you say no, I came here to entertain.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's why we're all here, and this isn't about me. This is like I want to do a good job. That's maybe not as cool to say. Maybe I'm thinking of when we were younger. It's not as cool, but
listen, I'm 100% on board with what you're saying. Like that's how I feel, and I feel that struggle amongst my peers.
Right.
Where like they're like, "Oh, come do this bar show with me," and I'm like, "Do they know there's a show? Like, if they know there's a show, I'll come do the show, but." I'm not sneaking up on anyone.
Right.
Like I'm not going to demand they watch me. That's not what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And like I know that there's people out there that are like, "Well, then you'll never make it in this business." Well, I disagree.
yeah.
I like what so basically for me, like I mentioned, acoustic shows. My favorite thing to do is not play an acoustic set at a bar. It's to do it at somebody's living room. Like that's just fun because people are there specifically for that. You were doing a series like that for comedy because it's just you know what you're there for, and you're not fighting a crowd. So what was the name of that?
It was called Sofa Kings Live.
That's what it was.
So me and Mike Alcano would just get people to agree to set up in their living rooms, and we just set up a good quality professional style comedy show, just in a living room, apartment, wherever. And it was fun. Everyone there was there to have fun. They knew what they were getting into. It was like a little bit of like silliness, like we're just in my living room. But then I was like, yeah, but this guy has a Netflix special, so
Yeah. Yeah.
so just watch because it's really good, you know. And I don't know, it's just.
But I think what I love, just like the whole DIY aspect of something like that. You know, you're in a living room and you're not. Maybe
our roots, man.
Yeah,
You know, you still drive by somewhere and you go, I could do a show there.
yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It's still, Tommy Corrigan brought up too that no matter what age you are, hardcore kids will still look at a van like for sale or look at like a truck, you know. And I do the same with like, you know, there's a VFW hall or just a Unitarian church, and I'm like, if you clear that out, well, good, we got a stage, you know.
Yeah.
I do that for two things. I do that if I see a van and trailer on the road.
Yeah.
Like when I'm out, I'm like, oh, I bet there's a band I've never heard of. I'm not going to bother them. And when
You guys ever hear of Taking Back Sunday?
Yeah.
A little band called.
Let me show you this picture.
Oh, your dad used to listen to them? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
And then the other thing, like if I'm in like an office building and I see like an obvious card room or massage parlor, you know what I'm talking about? Like the dark room in the office building with like the thing, like it's like a social club.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or like the buzzer that's different. I'm like,
buzzer
that's
different.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a card room. Like, I can always spot it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm
Neil.
glad you brought that
Oh
up.
no, what are we doing?
I read something about you. 2 things.
All true.
Let's see. Past occupations like owning a brothel and running an illegal poker room.
Yeah.
These are true?
Yeah.
You owned a brothel? Let's start there.
I was part owner of a brothel. You remember Chummy?
Yeah.
Yeah. He might still own brothels.
So what did you do?
He needed money,
Right.
and I had a couple bucks, and I was familiar with the operations just because they're similar to card room operations.
Okay.
They're
Dude, I
coming.
just said it.
I really hope
We have a surprise guest, Brian
the
Parker.
microphones picked up the
Brian Parker coming in.
What was I? And he needed some money for a new opening, and I was like, sure, I'll
Where
do
was
it
it?
for this much, whatever. It was in Midtown, so
Wow.
it was like 2 different spaces over the course of like a 6 or 8 month.
Now, how did you feel doing that? Did you feel like, this is fine, consenting adults, or did you feel after a while like, fuck?
No, mostly fine consenting adults. You're too. People need to know that women can choose.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, women choose to sell their bodies. That's
Okay.
a thing that you can choose to do.
Right.
The crimes, if you do the research and you make that decision on your own and you come to that on your own. I'm not coercing anyone. I've never coerced anyone
Yeah.
to do anything. Women sometimes want to do that
Yeah.
because it's really good money.
Right.
And if you do your research and find safe places to do, which is what we did, we established a very safe space for those women.
Right.
And they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me, but I've never known anyone who's like ran it for a while. My suspicion it would be that you run the gamut of different types of people, and it could be difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you ever have to hit somebody with your Converse?
just the Converse.
Was there any ruffians that came through? Riff-raff?
Yeah. I mean, there's riff-raff everywhere. I mean, I had more difficulty at the card room than at the brothel. And
You're right, yeah.
if we're rating scumbaggery,
Yeah.
the nightclub
Yeah, there you go.
is the most scumbaggery.
Right.
Because, and no offense to those guys, I'm still friends with a lot of those guys. But I'm
But they
just
would
saying,
agree,
like,
I'm sure.
like, like working at the nightclub, I worked with a lawyer who ended up going to prison for embezzlement. I worked with, guys
Are
who
white collar crimes really crimes, though?
exactly. Work with a guy who was heavy involved in drug pushing.
Right.
Which I mean, in the card room, there was a FBI bust. A guy got taken in for selling pharmaceutical. He had a pharmaceutical ring.
Okay.
So like there was that there too. But it's like like at the card room, these are unsavory characters.
Mm-hmm.
Your lawyer at the at the legitimate business shouldn't be one of the top 5 craziest criminals you've worked with.
But also, like, when you think of, like, a brothel, you think of boners and good times and people shooting loads
But
and all
that's
that
the
other shit.
same thing.
And then the flip side is obviously if you lose money at a card game and you think you're going to get it back, those people are going to be angrier. So that makes sense to me.
Right. So, but that goes along with facilitating the good time.
Yeah.
Like when I toured after tour managing and stuff like that, people would bring me out just to like party coordinate,
Right.
which is just like find the parties, like
Right.
whether it was finding the people who wanted to party or finding the place to go.
Yeah.
But like I've legitimately been paid to go out for weeks with people to just make sure there's fun times. And then so when I worked at a card room, it's like, not that I justified it to myself, but there was also that element of like, oh, this is just facilitating a place for everyone to come and do a thing that they would have to go to Atlantic City to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why is this illegal here and not?
It was the same thing in Queens. You know, certain places in Queens, I know that, you know, they had brothels. We would call them the 21s or the 25s or whatever.
Yeah.
Card games everywhere. Anywhere where there's a dark corner you could fucking congregate in, that shit is happening regardless because it just, that's what you do. People like that, and as long as people like it, it's always going to exist.
The fact that prostitution is illegal is insane to me. It's so insane. If you legalized it and I'd say not like to be non-libertarian, but like if you regulated it,
Yeah.
dude, it's fine. It's fine. Women who choose to do it and men who choose to do it, it's their decision. It's you're not
'Cause
hurting
then
anybody.
If anything goes wrong, they can go to the police. Now they're not going to. And then, you know, excuse me. I mean, the other thing, too, is that it's just as simple as what politician's going to stand up and say, yeah, we should legalize that.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
the whole problem.
Well, Rhode Island, they decriminalized prostitution as long as it wasn't outdoors,
Okay.
which makes sense.
Kinda.
It makes sense,
All
you know,
right.
no streetwalkers. That cuts down a little bit of the problem.
Right.
So if you're decriminalizing brothels, so to speak, or rub and tugs, there's not as many opportunities for the women to streetwalk. So you're getting rid of the lower, I don't want to say lower class, but like the sketchier, you know what I mean?
Like the public nuisance.
The $20
of-
meth women, you know what I mean? You're eliminating that, which, you know, that's a whole nother issue. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. That could be both, but you know.
But you can make the case.
But you can make a case
why
that
you don't want it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And New York, they were pushing to pass it. I don't know if it's still going to legislature or if it passed already, but there's a decriminalization thing here too, which is, you know,
I'm just thinking of what a great reality show HBO would have if they do that, you know?
Yeah.
Bring that in, you know, just like they went to the Bunny Ranch and stuff like that. They'll just, you know, start another show.
Yeah. I'm so impressed. Like, I didn't know this about you, Neil. Who the fuck cares about Iron Lightfoot? I want to hear about this shit.
This is a good shit. Yeah. So, and you kind of parlayed that into that TV show, right, on Spike?
well, so yeah, I was dealing cards. My buddy was VP at Spike, and he needed a gambling expert.
Perfect.
So that was me. So I ended up on camera for like 4 years. And those guys, like Steve Sharippa was on the show, and like Artie Lang was a constant guest. Those guys were all like, "Hey, if you want to keep doing TV, like this ends eventually. Like you're gonna have to parlay this into something else."
Yeah.
So that's when I first got into comp, stand up, and writing, because I'd always felt like I wanted to write, I just never did it.
Okay.
And they kind of put the spark in my butt, and things moved super quick because I was already on television.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like now, trying to get more stage time as a comedian, I wish I had a current TV credit. Like that's
Right.
what you need. But then it was easier, A, and B, I had a current TV credit. Like I was
Yeah.
on a TV show, and I was constantly doing background and extra work on other TV shows. I was constantly on TV. So I was able to like get attention, but I wasn't any good.
Okay.
And you know that
I saw you stand up. I thought you were good.
yeah, I wasn't though. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But now looking back
Yeah, you're going to look back and feel
and
that way.
seeing where I am now,
Yeah.
like okay, fine, I was good for then and for there, and where you saw me, where there was
Yeah.
no there was no other good comedians.
Could be, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like in the grand scheme of things, like I was performing with people. Like I was on shows with Nate Bargatze in 2007 or
Yeah.
8, and it was like this guy's a superstar
Yeah.
in the making, and I'm garbage. You know what I mean? And it just like I just started to notice it, and I started to get like disillusioned, and like I got attention for my writing, and I got a woman representing me and trying to pitch me to places, and like I just wasn't, my skill wasn't up to my tastes.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And then the writer's strike happened, and blah blah blah. Like I realized how bad I was, and all these things happen all at once, and I was like, let me just, and then the all the things that were happening, I was like, let me just try and have a real life.
Yeah, because I remember you stopped. I remember talking to you at one point. You said, "Nah, I'm not doing that anymore."
Yeah.
And then, so what made you then say, "I want to do this"?
Well, I think one of the most interesting parts of that show to go back to, which we mentioned one time, where you told me about it, was you were actually on the show when Scott Stapp was a douche to Beth Stern. I remember because Howard Stern always talks about how much he hated Scott from Creed, and they would play these clips. And like, what do you remember of that day?
Oh, that guy was just a D-bag. That guy was a hardcore douche. He just.
Was he drunk, right?
He was hammered. It was early. Maybe he wasn't hammered. Maybe he was on something. Maybe he was off something. You know what I mean? Like whatever it was, he was in a bad place, and he was like real handsy and like real aggressive and like just saying like ridiculous shit. Like I remember the babies come from my sack. He's like, I told my son babies come from my sack. And he like did the degeneration, smack your groin. And Beth just like a champ, just grinning, bared it, and was like, okay.
Because she was like a co-host with Shrip.
Yeah. It was Beth Stern and Steve Shripper were the hosts. But yeah, there was a video going around behind the douchebag. It was on YouTube. It was like a supercut of that episode.
Yeah. And
you just see me and one of the extras, my homie Trevor, who runs Reka Vodka now. Are you familiar with Reka Vodka? It's like this huge vodka. Like
Everyone looks at me.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know who to look at.
I don't drink.
He like my friend Trevor runs this like vodka company. He's like all over the world as like an ambassador for this vodka. It's the craziest. His Instagram is the craziest.
Sounds like a good gig.
Yeah,
That sounds like a great gig.
Yeah,
I don't even drink and I'd do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a sick gig, man. But yeah, like on the video, you see like me and him just like eyeballing each other, like what is happening?
Yeah, well, like you said, the card game brings out the worst in people, and Scott Stapp seemed to have really run with that.
Yeah, it was a mess back then.
So yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like, I thought maybe real life, whatever. What's the word? Midlife crisis thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Just like I was in my 30s. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know, like, I didn't have direction. I'd always just been like freeballing it. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, like I'm gonna tour. I'm like, I'm gonna be on TV. I'm on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I gotta say, like I still feel like I lead a charmed life. Like, I mean, I go through struggles and like everybody, but like I look back and I'm like, this is pretty cake. Like,
Pretty sweet.
yeah, I've handled zero adversity for real. You know what I mean? Like I've had falling outs and like I've hit what I thought was rock bottom, but like,
All this has to be just like anything. Like for me, like when I write songs, I don't write songs unless something really affects me or bothers me, and it just like makes me write more. So like just the life that you've lived, I mean, would that help like your routine, your comedy helps you write more?
All right, so I'm in a weird place right now as far like for me, because up until now I had just been writing to be liked. So like, in the framework of a band, like I want my first album to have like commercial success.
Right.
So my second album can be Pinkerton.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was writing the Blue album for so long.
Right.
So like all my all my current like A stuff is like fat jokes with no hard edges and how much I love my wife.
So
with
you wrote
no
the
hard
Green
edges.
album, is what you're saying?
Well, I don't acknowledge that existing, but yeah, I wrote the Black album,
Okay.
the Metallica Black album.
Okay, that's not fair.
But now I'm trying to write Kill 'Em All. No, now I'm trying to write Master of Puppets. So like now all my stuff is like human trafficking, sex trafficking, pro prostitution, anti porn, women with one arm, like those things, like the real like the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
So, but it's like getting people to like that, like getting people to on board, and it's so much fun. Like, it's so much like I just did a show. I was in a contest in
And you won.
yeah,
you
in
win this
Wichita.
one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just won. But before that, I was in a contest in Myrtle Beach. I ended up coming in third out of 40. But the third place set, like I talked about human trafficking and sex trafficking for 10 minutes or 8 minutes, and got a bunch of strangers in Myrtle Beach to be like,
Laugh.
well, we see your point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, laugh definitely, but then to also be like,
On
look,
board.
we don't agree,
Okay.
but we understand your point, and we're closer to it now than we were when we walked in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the Wichita one where I won, I did like 2 minutes. I made a joke about like how when I first met my wife, like when I first saw how pretty she was, I was like, oh man, please have one arm, please have one arm. And then just 2 minutes on like why or why not I could date a one-armed girl.
Yeah.
And it's just like getting strangers on board. Like, you're a messed up dude, so you laugh immediately. But to get strangers on board with that, sort of like in the middle of Wichita, Kansas.
I just want everyone to know that he pointed to me. George is very straight laced and very well adjusted and adult like.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I make.
Is it easy to just get in the car by yourself and just go to places like you're kind of on tour?
I
or
love
like,
it.
You did.
Oh man, I love it.
That's so cool.
Yo, man, I love it. I loved it then. I love it now.
Yeah.
I don't care who's in the van with me. Like, let's go, man. I think back to those days, and I just want to recreate them. Like, I did like a short run on California last summer, and Kathleen came with. Oh, last October, Kathleen came with because it started with like a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So like, use that as an excuse to fly out. Hey, babe, like we're gonna go to my cousin's wedding. Do you mind if I do like 7 shows up and down the coast? We'll see San Francisco. We'll see Oakland. We'll see some friends. We'll see my.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll see some homies from back in the day in LA
Yeah.
and San Francisco and Berkeley. And we'll play some shows, and I'll introduce you to some new friends that I've met in Sacramento and wherever else, and we'll have a good time. She's like, yeah, cool. She's not into the road at all. And I remember there was one day we were driving from like Bakersfield to Sacramento.
Okay.
So it's just, it's not even a good view. It's just rolling hills. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And we're driving, and it's a beautiful day. I got the window down. I got like Spotify playing my playlist, whatever.
Yeah.
I've had the time of my life, and the WKRP theme or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like windows down, like so stoked, like open road. You got my girl on my arm. I'm like little teardrop. I look over to my wife. And she's miserable.
Just trying to jump out the car.
And I'm like, God damn it! It was like so close. Like if she was into it, that would be it. I would sell what I have, get an RV, we'd be on the road.
So
if she
much
was into
easier.
it.
Like something as simple as like looking at the Riot Fest lineup that was announced today. I know Karen and I went to it like 2 years ago. I had a great time. But I remember her looking at her. She wanted to kill herself after like half the first day, and I'm thinking like, but there's like 100 bands that I want to see, and like we'll go hang out there, and like Taking Back Sunday's playing.
Yeah.
Like we'll just do whatever. And she is just like I like she wanted to just go to Chicago and hang out, and I was like, but we're gonna go watch the Flaming Lips. So it's the same thing. Like if she enjoyed it, I would have been like, yeah, let's go
Yeah.
I
right
remember
now.
that. There was always The Cure. Years ago when I would tour, maybe we even on this tour, but I brought my girlfriend for a few days because they think of it as just a nonstop party that, and back then we didn't have a cell phone, so you couldn't call all the time.
Yeah.
So you had to go get the phone card, and you had to go to find a. So she came for like 3 days and was so fucking miserable. She's like, I didn't realize like how hard this was.
Yeah.
Like she had a heart to heart with me. Even like driving at night, like Rich Capella, I think, was the driver, and he would just be all over the road. And she was like a frozen animal, like, what is going on? And then I was like, look, you're a guest, so we can't get the good spot. We have to sleep in like the bad spot of the RV or whatever. and she was just miserable, like couldn't sleep a fucking way. I'm like, no problem. And I was like, you see, it's not like you think. I mean, we may all love it, but it's hard.
It's hard. You remember when I got us caught in that ditch?
Yes, I was thinking about that today.
My first professional tour, and I drove the band into a ditch.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. It was fucking like...
Kept touring. I toured for 10 more years.
Yeah. Just trying to make up for that. Who were some of the bands that you tour managed?
You guys. Taking Back Sunday, Motion City Soundtrack, Rival Schools. I have stories for this. I don't know if we want to get into it. I
have a feeling we do.
I did a week of press for No Doubt.
Oh, let's get into it.
Who else? I did Kitty, Peter Murphy for a second, and then quit.
Why'd you quit, Peter Murphy?
Oh, he's a twat. Yo, he's the worst.
I've heard that.
Yo, the tour. So the tour that I was on, I quit. And then the next tour they did, he got arrested for hit and run while under the influence of meth.
Oh, okay.
So quality dude right there. I made the right decision.
Yeah.
In fact, I made such the right decision that the manager and booking agent said, "We'll fly you home, keep the band funds, give it to us when we see you."
Wow.
That's how bad that dude is.
Was.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bad dude.
Isn't it crazy? Like when it's almost like get him to the Greek. Like when you're in charge of this one person.
But he is like that.
Yeah,
How do they survive that long? You know what?
Because they always have someone. Yeah, because they always have someone that's paid to make sure they get through the day.
Ozzy.
Yeah.
Like Ozzy's never changed a tire in his life. I'm sure he's probably
Changed
he's probably never changed a light bulb. He's been famous since Sabbath, like 68.
He has shoved more light bulbs in his ass than he has screwed into a ceiling. 100% guarantee that.
And what's fascinating about him, never writes lyrics, never writes songs, never writes anything, gets credit for everything. Yeah. And he just has great management. So
I would even go to say he's put his dick in more sockets than light bulbs in sockets.
That's possible. Yeah.
I'm betting on both of them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Get him on the phone. Let's find out.
Well, he's our next guest. He's episode 44.
We'll write these questions down.
And what about No Doubt?
Yo, there's like a lot of surreal stories in this thing, which are whatever. I was above my head. I was working way above. I had just done punk rock bands my whole life. That's it. And now I'm with No Doubt. It's the MTV Music Awards, video, whatever, and VMAs. I should not be here. I should not be here. And they basically gave me like one directive. Don't make Gwen wait for the limo. Make sure the limo's there. Don't make Gwen wait for the limo. Yeah. I got Gwen out in the rain.
Oh, no.
Waiting for a limo. And she looked at me and she was like, "It's okay." And like I heard her say, "You're fired." And then that was strike two. I'm really cutting this down because I don't want to.
Was strike one when you told her that you didn't like ska music?
No. Strike one was something with Tony earlier in the week. But then strike three was I was with Tony. It was after the award ceremony. We were at like some after party. It was Eminem's after party.
Okay.
And he's like on a balcony VIP section with Gwen.
Okay.
Tony and Gwen had like just broken up. She had just started dating Gavin.
Okay.
Who we were all boys with. Like he was boys with rival schools.
Chris Trainer.
All those. Right. Chris was in the band.
Yeah.
We were all. There was no bad blood between anybody. Totally cool. Theoretically, if Gavin and Gwen are hanging out somewhere, me and you would be able to walk up to them. At that point,
yeah,
everyone was friends, everyone was friendly. Those guys didn't act like rock stars. It was totally cool. So I'm like, "Yo, Tony, I want to meet Eminem. Let's go up, hang out with Gwen." And he's like, I don't want to. No, man, I got to meet Eminem. And, I mean, you guys can both attest, I'm not like this. I
No,
don't
not at all.
care.
It surprises me a little bit.
Right,
Yeah.
I don't care about anyone famous, anybody. I don't
Except
need to meet
Eminem.
anybody. Except there were 2 or 3. There was the Axl Rose
Oh,
incident.
yeah, for sure.
And there's an Eminem thing.
Okay.
So, no, you got to introduce me to Eminem. No, come on. Because we're boys. But that's it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we go, and the bouncer goes, nah, no one can go up there. And Tony's like, my ex-girlfriend's up there. I just want a VMA. And he goes, I don't care. No one's going up there. And Tony just looked at me, and I felt him fire me. And then he walked away. And, like, that's the thing. Like, leading up to that opportunity, I got that gig because we were all cool. You know what I mean? Like, Rival Schools had just done a bunch of festivals and a bunch of off dates with No Doubt. Mm-hmm. We had seen these guys for a month in England. We were hanging out with them every day. We like became pals. I got the gig because I was cool. Tony was cool with me. He felt comfortable. He felt safe around me. That's why I got it. And then like after that, couldn't get him to text me back.
Really?
Like that was it. Like I really overstepped the line. For sure. And I felt it too. I was like, because I didn't think that's I didn't think that's a possibility.
Yeah.
No. Eminem says no. No one comes up here. Like, really? When does that happen? We're in his party. We're at his party.
Right.
No.
But it's also funny what people get like kind of upset over, you know? Like
Yeah.
I couldn't
Well,
imagine.
Okay, but think about it. So, right. At first I was like, what are you so mad about? But then, like, think about it from his point of view. You know what I mean? He's the less famous. It's his band.
Yeah.
His girl gets famous.
His ex-girl is up there with Eminem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll fuck up your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like a minute.
Oh, maybe for a minute, but long enough
Sam
for me to
has
get
no
fired.
emotion towards
I have no, yeah.
Because, like, I had gotten... So it was like a week of, like, taking care of them for, like, this press junket. And then after that, we were going to go to Singapore and Japan and Hong Kong and all these like cool places. And I had all the passports in I had all the visas in my passport. And then I got the call that I wasn't going. And I was like, oh, man, that sucks.
Shit.
Yeah. And it just never got back there for me.
Yeah.
It just, After that, it was like back to like, no offense to the bands, but it was like back to like Motion City.
Right.
And like that kind of stuff. And it was like, this is where I'm more comfortable anyway, whatever. You know what I mean? It was like Hot Rod Circuit after that and whatever.
That's where there is like a background. You guys don't even have to tell each other, but you know how to handle things because you come from the same place. As opposed to like, No Doubt, you're not allowed to, you can't have Gwen wait for a limo. That's just not in the, it's not in the,
right.
the
to
makeup.
Me,
it's not baked into the cake. So
I didn't understand. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, I understood that, but I didn't know how to facilitate that because, like, this is a whole building full of Gwens right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everyone here has a limo.
Yeah.
And all the limos look the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and the cops don't care whose limo is whose, you know?
And it's got to be hard to feel like that's the most important thing. They may tell you, like, here's a directive, but, like, deep down, does it feel like the most important thing?
That's
and it's
the
hard
other
to,
thing. It's like as long as I don't, as long as I don't keep her in the rain, and then it starts raining, and, and it's just like it just spiraled. And the thing with Tony was like, he's from punk rock. We got along. Like we've been hanging out for like a month. You know what I mean? Like it was like, why wouldn't we just go upstairs and hang out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a normal thought.
Yeah.
Those guys do a really cool band now. Dream Car, I think, is super cool with Davey from AFI. It sounds like fucking Duran Duran. It's just basically No Doubt minus Gwen.
Minus Gwen? Oh, that's pretty
She's
cool.
she's with Eminem somewhere.
Yeah.
She's playing an instruction.
Yeah.
She's doing a show in Vegas. I was in Vegas a couple weeks ago. It was like Gwen was on all these billboards.
Oh, good for her.
She bounced back after that whole limo thing.
Yeah, she turned it around. She really turned it around.
Yeah.
She's doing the voice.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get back to our things about Neil, and not about other people. But so like a lot of the things that you were doing, like you said before, were through like entertainment, and you did everything. You were from talent buyer at the downtown. You also did things at the Emporium.
Yeah.
You were like an event manager.
Yeah, I mean, we could call it talent buyer, event coordinator, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have that thing like where you're in the band, and then you're like, I wish I could do like the tour managing. I wish I could do something that doesn't have to be like that focus. And then like you're off to the side facilitating all these things. And then did you feel more like, I wish I could be in a band again, or I wish I could do those types of things? Or you just enjoyed being the talent manager?
I will say that until this round of stand-up comedy, I never cared if I was the focus. When I tour managed, I just wanted to be on the road.
Okay.
Now I want to be on the road, but I want it to be my road.
Right.
Like I want to make the decisions now.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. That's because I feel like there's a thing, it's like grass is greener. I don't have to, it'd be nice to be in the music industry, but not have to play.
Right.
And then when you don't play, you're like, I
No.
wish I was back being in a band. Maybe I'll start a band again.
Yeah. Because I have seen it from a couple of sides now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So when I was touring in a band, that was the best. And then I was touring with other people's bands, and it was actually better.
Yeah.
Because it didn't matter if my band got successful. I still was able to pay rent and do the things and I would just be like, hey, fly me back to Philly. And that's it. I fly back to Philly. You know, like I don't have to worry. I don't have to make those kinds of decisions. Like, is it, I can just be like, hey, like if you want me on this tour, I'm flying in and out of Philly. Like that's, or what, whatever. But now that I'm doing stand up and it's just me, it's my decisions. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I want. Yeah, I want to do this.
So do you do your own booking? There's not like a manager or like.
There's there's a lot of help. For the most part, it's me. There's a couple of guys who book various things that are very cool to me, that give me work that maybe I'm not the most deserving of, but for whatever reason they like me. And there's some clubs. We
all want to try that.
Yeah. Sure. And there's certain clubs that are cooler to me than other clubs, But yeah, for the most part, it's just you out there. Yeah. I have an agent who's supposed to book me for commercial work.
Yeah.
But they don't like me.
The agent or the commercials?
The agent doesn't like me. But there's a casting director that really likes me. So so that's the only reason I still have my agent, is because this casting director keeps asking me to go in for stuff through the agent.
Such a weird way how this all has to work sometimes.
Everyone needs to like you, but I got the wrong I got the right person to like me, but
you
really,
got the gatekeeper there.
Yeah. So if my agent would push me as hard as this casting director pushes me, then we'd be in business.
And how does it, if you book a tour for a band, not that it's easy or easier, but there's probably more of a circuit where bands can play. If you want to book a tour for your level of comedy, how hard is it to get to put that together? Stringing together 7 dates sounds like it's.
I mean, some people do a better job of it than I do. I don't have the experience to do it. Some people do it really well. Like, there's other comedians that are I consider peers that are touring, breweries or, black box theaters or, off nights at clubs, whatever. I'm trying to feature at real club. Like I'm trying to feature at A-level clubs or
Right.
even C-level clubs, to be completely honest. So that's like kind of tough because like nobody answers emails, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
What do
They
you
have to
What
be
do you
built.
send? Like, do you send like clips of stuff that you did, or like?
Yeah, I just sent an email. It says, "Hey, I'm going to be coming through. I just won a bunch of this, and I work at a bunch of these. Here's a clip if you're interested. Look forward to hearing from you." And then in most cases, I just don't hear back, and then I follow up, 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 and then I follow up. Some cases they get back to you, they're just like, "Oh, we're not interested at all." And then some cases they get back and they're like, they give you like a hoop or two to jump through, and you jump through them, and they're like, "Yeah, cool. You're booked November 1st and 2nd."
And when you're playing these out of state places, what is the pay like? You know, I can only think of how bands are, but is it
Yeah. So
zero?
yeah. So sometimes it's just enough to get there and back,
Right. Which is
which is fine.
fine because even in a band,
Sounds
you
good to
just
me.
lose money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
the goal, and the goal isn't to do it once.
Right.
The goal is to build that market and go back as a headliner in a year and a half.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, the first time you just make your money back or whatever. Some clubs pay better than others.
Yeah.
How long do you do when you go out and do, like, let's say,
It depends on
like you said, the Wichita
everything.
one?
The
or-
Wichita is a contest,
Okay.
so I'm on my own dime. I'm just trying to win. This is how sad it is. I'm there to win work. So like, I don't think I'm in any fear of him listening to this podcast. So I'll just be completely honest. He's someone who I couldn't get to answer me back, and then when he finally answered me back, it was just hoops to jump through.
Right.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to win your contest. And the prize of winning your contest is working your club.
Okay.
Say no to me then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just went and won the contest.
And you won, so now you can get back there.
Right.
Oh,
So now I can go do his club. And hopefully when I do his club the next
Good
time,
sense.
he's like, all right, well, now you do my club. Everyone seemed to like you both times you were in my club, I guess. Like how why wouldn't you book me at that point? You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's really it with a lot of the contests that I do. It's like if I'm getting up in front of the bookers that I want to see me. So I'll do that.
So I think comedy is obviously universal, and you could do it anywhere. But like, obviously you do stuff out of state. Like, do you notice like some jokes work better than others in certain places?
Well, I mean, I very rarely do like local references. So I do like, I have a joke about MacArthur,
Yeah.
but you can say that anywhere. Everyone has a small airport. Everyone gets that joke. We have an airport on Long Island. It's the one that nobody uses, and I love it because nobody uses it. Everyone has an airport in their area that's like that.
Yeah.
They have the good
Like,
airport.
how does this
and then,
work?
right. And
Yeah.
like, how is that even still open?
Yeah.
Right. Everyone has that airport. So everyone relates to that joke. And then I have a joke about like not getting mugged in Brooklyn. So if I'm out of state, I just leave out Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like if it's close, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, somewhere where like Brooklyn might still have the same reputation, then I'll do the Brooklyn jokes part of it. But if not, then I just leave that out or whatever. It's weird when you go to like Chattanooga and they don't have Chipotle.
Yeah.
They just don't have, or like in the deep South, they don't have White Castle. And like that's part of a joke.
Right.
You know what I mean? Fortunately, White Castle's like a big enough thing. Like I've noticed that White Castle and Cheesecake Factory and Outback are kind of like universal, even if the area doesn't have it. They know what it is.
Yeah, see commercials.
Yeah. But yeah, Chipotle's not. Like if you make that joke, like I make a joke about mispronouncing Chipotle, and I can only make that joke where you have
Yeah.
Chipotle.
Right.
Like if you're or where you
Chipotle.
pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the South, they probably don't pronounce it correctly,
Right.
and that's why that joke's not hitting. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Chipotle.
yeah, like they also don't pronounce it correctly, so they don't care. Like the joke doesn't make sense to them because they're like, well, "That's not how it's pronounced." You're like, "No, that's not okay." But here you can make that joke, and they're like, "No, it's pronounced." And you're like, "Shut up, it's not." And make your joke. But
What about the clip stuff, like the YouTube channel, like the woke rapper stuff that we like?
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks.
Like it's because I feel like it's super relevant. I mean, it appears to be like a lot of people, they took clips from like the Louis C.K. thing. I don't know, like what's the climate there? Like, is everyone kind of like? Do you ever feel like you're making a joke that somebody is going to take the wrong way?
yeah, always. But screw yourself. Like that. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I mean, you know me long enough. I've never apologized for a joke. It's a
Right.
joke. Like you don't like it, all right.
Moving on.
Don't talk to me. Like both of our lives will be fine.
What
if
we said.
me and you never communicate
If
again.
it's funny, it's funny. It really is. If it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's just different now because, like, the conversations that we would have now, if the mics weren't on, obviously, we could have those conversations now, but like in a social media thread, and the three of us know each other, and we could joke around like that. But everyone's eyes are able to see it.
Yeah.
So everyone's gonna take it in a different way. Like some people are like, oh yeah, cool, they know each other. Some guy in Michigan might be like, what are these guys? These guys are savages,
Yeah.
Because everyone just has that window to make that, weird judgment, and some people just jump through that window. I don't know why.
Some people make it their job to do that, and it's fascinating to me that that's fun for people, like picking out, like just taking it as wrong as possible. Like you don't feel stupid that you don't get the joke. Like even if it's a joke that's not funny to you, like it just burns so many calories to be like, wait a minute, like when Dave Chappelle got in trouble for transgender jokes. It's like,
Come on.
those jokes were fucking funny. Number one. Number two, it's like that's your job to be offended for other groups. I don't know if the transgender community was offended. It was
Well, that's the whole thing. Some people aren't. Like they'll like whoever is the intended joke or whatever. Like it's never someone from that community. It's always someone else. It's like, hold on, let me step in for you guys.
I
You
got this.
Yeah, you
Well,
got this.
yeah, there's that white savior mentality.
So I want to talk about the things that you do. We've been sort of sprinkling it in beyond the stand-up here because we were talking in the break a little bit that it is a different time. Some of the gatekeepers that used to be there to help you get to a higher level in your comedy career aren't there as much anymore. That we used to have all these credits. Now you can just have a lot of views or a lot of followers. So you on your you do a lot of stuff on YouTube. You do a lot of work with the YouTubes.
I try to get. I don't know, man. It seemed like that was the place because Instagram and Facebook feel like someone else. How do I'm gonna have a hard time articulating. I think this is like as a punk rocker, right?
Okay.
So if I put content on Facebook or Instagram, not that YouTube doesn't choose to show it or not show it. They can choose to show it or not show it, and I've seen those variations.
Yeah.
But Instagram and Facebook seem like they choose to show it or not show it on a much more unsavory way.
Yeah.
Like if you mention YouTube in your post is buried. 2 people see your post.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
know that.
Like I can't.
Note to self.
If I post a YouTube link, 2 people see it.
Right.
If I post the video directly to Facebook, more people will see it.
Right.
No, and like no matter what. So like if I post just like a sentence with their background, more people see it. If I put a YouTube link in the comments, nobody sees that same thing.
Wow.
Like, and I don't know, maybe I'm imagining it, but I can't, like, it's just so often.
But I think also Facebook and Instagram, especially Instagram, like they're going to feature things that we don't really do. You know, like YouTube feels a little bit more like creative. It's going to feature a little bit more of what you do, more so than what Instagram tends to promote.
Right. So YouTube wants to encourage creators.
Right.
Same thing with Patreon. Patreon wants you to get out there and get successful because they make more money the more money you make.
Right.
Same thing with YouTube. And YouTube recognizes that. YouTube recognizes if they make you a star, you're a YouTube star.
Right.
You're not George Reynolds anymore. You're George Reynolds' YouTube star.
Right.
Facebook and Instagram don't care. They're not interested in that. They're
Right.
interested in total numbers.
Right.
They just want more people subscribing to their thing, more people looking at their thing.
Right.
So you're just part of a algorithm. A logarithm. You're just part of a calculus program. You're just part of a square root of another number. To me, that's how I view it. Like Instagram and Facebook are corporations that we can choose to show our art through. But having 100,000 followers on Instagram, as nice as that would be to say to a gatekeeper in the real world, doesn't necessarily mean anything, because if your followers talk to Tank about this, if your followers come to you because of Instagram, they're not going to go with you other places. If your followers come to you from other places to Instagram, they'll go with you other places.
Interesting.
That's my theory, and that is something that Tank has mentioned to me.
Because it doesn't translate to all the places he's trying to go.
So D'Elia and him have the same amount of followers.
Okay.
But Chris D'Elia brought those followers to Instagram
Gotcha.
by doing all the other things he does. So he can go do a concert, blow it out.
Right.
Tank sells a book, 2,000 people buy it.
Right.
Which is a great number, but which is just a fraction of what his followers could do.
Right.
So he's now trying to rally his followers into other things like, hey, come check out Tank's Good News, come watch my thing, come see my podcast, and trying to get something else
He's
to
trying to
pop
reverse
off.
engineer it
Right,
a little bit.
right,
Yeah.
right. Which
He will.
cool and
Yeah,
will,
yeah.
and I can't wait
Yeah.
to see.
He'll figure it out.
He's a brilliant guy. I love watching him work, and something's going to happen for him.
Yeah.
one way
He's
or the
smart
other.
enough to he's so self-aware.
He's going to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
I guarantee
Yeah.
it. But just watching that, I don't need to build my Instagram following.
Right.
But I see on YouTube people who build their YouTube followings. Those people go to concerts. Those people go to whatever. I remember when I was booking for the Emporium, we booked 4 girls that did makeup tutorials on YouTube. Just 4 14-year-old girls. Well, they were 17 at the time, but they'd been doing makeup tutorials for 14-year-old girls or 12-year-old girls for years on YouTube, and they all blew up, and they all just do that.
Right.
And they put on a concert where they built a bedroom on stage, and then for 2.5 hours read tweets from the audience to the audience. Alyssa 411 and Alyssa 411
Freaks out.
like she wrote, how do you get the blah 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 off of your blah blah blah? Well, Alyssa, come closer, Alyssa will tell you. And they bring Alyssa on stage, and she's wigging out, and she gives her a notebook that she made for the girl, and and it's like, that's from YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe it also happens on Instagram, but what I see on Instagram is people like Kim Kardashian who have fans elsewhere bring them to Instagram.
Right.
And then when you hear stories about how they make money on Instagram, it's always like, oh, well, we partnered with Bumble. Right. Oh, we partnered with this. Oh, I made a clothing line that I sell through. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you hear those stories. YouTube, you don't hear those stories. You hear, oh, I do a YouTube channel and it blew the F up.
Right.
So to me, that's like, all right, I'm going to focus on this because I understand this. Mm-hmm. It feels like I can be authentically me.
Yeah.
And I don't need anyone's help. I can do everything. I can set up the camera. I can write the words. I can tell the thing. I can edit the thing. I can post the thing.
Right.
What are the things that you have up? Like I know you do like the bits. You do the Neil reviews it.
So first, the thing that I like doing the most is just posting stand-up clips.
Yeah.
I perform at Greenwich Village once a month. Usually, I get a good tape from there because they have a cool setup.
Yeah.
And then I post a minute. I post it to Instagram, and then I throw it up on YouTube. See if it gets anything. That's fun. I do. The Neil Rubenstein reviews it.
Neil unboxes it. Neil throws it across the room. Neil complains about it.
Which is basically it's just content to spite people who tell you to make content. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you want me to do something consistently? All right, I'll do something consistently. I'll bore you. I'm
going to review grapes. I was like, did I get this right?
Yeah, it was like, wait, what's going on here?
2,400 views.
Yeah. That was me.
Going,
I watched it 2,300 times.
People are like, is he really? So that stuff, I have fun with that. I mean, most of them are 36 views, 24 views, but that's fun. And then I do
That's Not Okay.
That's Not Okay, which is I get 500 views a day.
Wow.
I love that one. It seems to be Three's Company. Right?
It's just so far. It's just Three's Company. I got to figure out what I'm going to do next. I did one Revenge of the Nerds, like a one-off, but that only got like 73 views. So I don't know.
You don't get any you don't get any copyright issues.
I do. That? I get copyright strikes for all that stuff.
Yeah.
So which just means I can't monetize it,
yeah.
which is fine. It just adds to your total views though,
Yeah.
and it gets me subscribers. So.
Right.
Hopefully those people are also looking at other stuff.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, I want to drive it to live. You know what I mean? Like, hey, come see me live. Hey, come see me live. Hey, come see me live. If I can, you know what? If some blogs and some podcasts start coming at me like, hey, you want to talk about this thing you do?
Yeah.
Like, that's good too. That'll be great, you know? But as of right now, as long as they see that it's something else, and I'm getting like 6-ish subscribers a week.
Right.
Just from those videos.
Right.
And Three's Company is a good place to start for that concept.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's yeah. That's how it.
I told him Jack Tripper raised me. Him and Sam Malone were like the two.
Yeah.
Like,
Cheers might be a good one for the next.
Is there a Cheers.
I don't know if there's a lot of.
There's got to be.
I don't know if there's. I don't know if there's as much.
Not as much as
Three's Company is so crazy.
Yeah. So that doesn't fall into the category of like what we're talking about Dave Chappelle
For sure.
transgender.
For sure does. For sure does. But the thing, I'm not commenting on it. I'm pointing it out. I'm saying,
Well, you're saying that's not okay. It's a statement.
I'm saying, this is crazy that we were cool with this.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
take
get
it that way.
Yeah.
I took it the
It's
way.
not preachy.
Yeah.
It's not like clapter.
So So people will comment on it and be like, "Yeah, I can't believe this." You're like, "All right, whatever." And then people comment and be like, "Oh, get a sense of humor." And it's like, "All right, well, I can argue with both of you on this one." Like, well, you point? Oh no, Artie Shepherd pointed it out. I didn't realize I was a contrarian until Artie Shepherd pointed it out on a podcast. He was just like, "Well, contrarians like me and you," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a contrarian."
I think we all have that gene.
No, but
I think it's a good thing to have, but sometimes it fucks with you a little bit.
I have a friend, Jerry Smith. No matter what someone posts, like if it's like super left, he'll go super right.
Yeah.
And if it goes super right, he'll like it. Just like no matter what you post, it's almost like he looks at you as like this like tennis opponent.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool. I'll just keep hitting you with shit.
So I'm the same way. So like if someone's like, "Oh, this is disgusting. It's like, yeah, well, it was a different time.
Yeah.
And then someone's like,
Simpler time.
get a sense of humor. And I'm like, well, what's funny about this scene where the guy is literally trying to rape Chrissy? Where do you find the humor in that? And someone will be like, oh, well, he gets what he deserves in the end. And I'm like, no, she gets her job back.
Yeah.
That's all that happened.
Yeah, and everybody just walks away like no big deal.
Like his wife stays with him and she
Right.
gets her job back.
Right.
Like he doesn't get what's coming to him.
Right.
Or like you said with Revenge of the Nerds, it's like when what Lewis makes pretend he's the other guy and he like totally like bangs
And
her.
he goes down on her at a carnival and then he gets the girl to end.
Yeah.
We rooted for him the whole time.
The whole time.
We were like, yeah. Get them.
Yeah.
The 2019
Their
version.
boyfriends are
The
dicks.
2019 version would be like not like that.
So
Put
yeah.
no cameras in, in their rooms.
Oh my god. So that's. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
I can just put it out there.
You started doing like fake trailers, kind of.
Oh yeah, I would do like it's just fun with editing. So like a trailer mashup
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like I would do like the audio of Avengers Endgame trailer with visuals from Finding Nemo. So it looks like Avengers Finding Nemo. It's just like fun.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
The Joker trailer with Fraser Crane visuals, which is fun. And then I did like a bunch of, and this is where it's like almost annoying what like people dig. I did a bunch of like Game of Thrones things. So I did Game of Thrones Neverending Story trailer. I did Game of Thrones, just like a tribute to Tormund, thinking he was going to die in one of the episodes. And that got like 2,000 views, whereas like something I poured my heart into got like 30 views.
Yeah.
But then I did, my favorite is a Facts of Life intro for Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I saw that one. That was good.
So that's like a fun thing. And like those things like get like some pops on Reddit, like Reddit will pick up on something and be like, oh, this is fun. But for the most part, it's just YouTube really, that's not okay. Just constant on, just steady on YouTube. So,
And you do a podcast also.
yeah,
You
real
do it sort of-
sparingly.
Yeah, infrequently.
I gotta get better at that.
but
Or
fantastic
I don't know.
guests.
Maybe do I have to? Yeah, you are on it.
Well, I'm not saying because that, but I'm saying you had Walter Streifels on. You had
Yeah.
a lot of good guests.
I had some fun one. Jesse Graff from American Ninja Warrior was like one of my favorites. Chris Cluey, former punter for the Vikings, who like, do you remember that guy? He basically got blackballed from him and Brendan Azerbaijan.
None of this is ringing a bell.
Abenati.
No, Chris Cluey got like blackballed from football basically for speaking out and for gay marriage, and was just like basically blackballed. So then like the following year, it was like right before the Colin Kaepernick thing. I probably would have been a better interview after the Colin Kaepernick thing. I got him too early.
But the fact that you don't do them as much, is that just something you're not as interested in as doing, stand-up or the YouTube skits or, the different things that you do? It's just like, I'll do it once in a while.
Yeah, I guess. It's just because I never was passionate about it.
Right.
Like, I'm just doing it to do it.
Right. It's a great idea.
I think we're supposed to do it.
Well, yeah, you told
Comedians
me.
have to do it.
Yeah,
you-
like we're supposed to do it.
That's what you told me. You said it was just like one of those things that was suggested to you as a comedian to just get a podcast.
Yeah.
It,
So I do it.
And now
you're good at it.
And
It's
now
sort of-
everyone has one.
No, but everyone had one even when I started doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone had one. Everyone had a podcast. But
Especially
you guys didn't have a
comedians.
podcast, but you guys pretty quickly. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Now it's like, there's... Well, someone gave me the number of how many podcasts there were. Was that you?
No, my mom has one.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, the number. I forget the number someone told me over the weekend.
I know there's several comedians who have podcasts with their mom.
Sounds like no fun.
That's how crazy podcasts are now.
But I wonder if it's going to be the, it's sort of the Wild West. Everybody does it. And then it's going to start, because there's a lot of podcasts that have 3 episodes and then stop.
Yeah.
And then I wonder if it's just going to be like music, where like eventually the good ones are going to be, around, and the ones that aren't as good, it's a free market, and then people be like, I really, really want to do it, and then you do it, and you're like, I'm not that into it, or I'm not that good at it, and just
not
stop.
into it. I usually think that like a monkey could do one, and then until I listen to a very bad one.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad ones too.
But a lot of times I just think like, oh, anyone could, just have a conversation, blah, blah, blah. And until I get to that very bad one, and I've gotten to a few of those, that even if the topic is good, which is why I clicked onto it, when I listen to it, I'm like, this is not, I don't know, these guys just aren't very good at this.
Yeah.
But doesn't it?
Here comes the contrarian.
Yeah. So you say like, oh, well, it would be like music. But did crap stop getting made? I feel
No.
like they still make a ton of crap.
Well, that's true. That's a very good point, Neil. But the point is that when you go, at some point, you're like, everybody's in a band, right? And then as time goes on, some bands stay. They turn from like the demo to VOD, and then certain things start to shape out as to like better.
Okay, so there's natural attrition for sure,
Yeah.
but there are no obstacles of attrition in this or music.
Right.
There's no,
And even less in podcasting.
There's none in podcasting.
Yeah.
Comedy, there's a ton because you got to wait online for things, whatever. People quit all the time, just from natural causes. But music, there's no obstacles of attrition because you can make what you want to make in your living room, post it to the internet, and wait for the audience to come to you. Podcasting, same thing.
Right.
I think the only obstacle of attrition is consistency.
Yeah.
So then there's things like me where like I'm not consistent at all.
Right.
Well, I didn't stop.
Right.
Like I'm still gonna suck up and like waste your airwaves.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
unlike just like music, there's no rules. You can do whatever band you want to do. You don't have to do a certain thing. With podcasting, you can be like, I just want to talk about how I feel, or I want to do interviews, or do short stories, or whatever. But yeah, I guess it's like self-regulating. Just over time, it's going to be like, who wants to do it, who doesn't want to do it,
Right.
whatever. And there's also like, before you get into it, you look at like the biggest podcast. Oh, Joe Rogan, like But when you get into it, you start to see how hard it is to get traction and to get to the goals that you have. It's the same with comedy. It's the same with music. You're like, oh man, we're looking at that band and we want to be like that band, whatever that goal is. And then you get into it, and you see how hard it is to get there, and then it starts to sort of like, people just fall off. It's sort of whoever wants to stay or is the most passionate about it stays, and then people who don't want to do it leave. But it's funny because no matter how much I always feel like you got to do art for yourself and the way that you want to do it, we think of it in terms of bands. We think of it in the way that we grew up doing it, which is like opening and having a demo. And I think punk rock has this thing where you feel like you deserve it, and that's when you want it. Like, oh, you did all these opening slots, you worked really hard, and then you got that thing. And if you get that thing too quick, we all, when we were younger, look at a band and be like, they just like started playing. How come they're opening for Murphy's Law? And it's like, so it still creeps back into my mind, like, of just like, you gotta like do all of these things, work, and then you'll get that thing. And it's not right to get it before. Even though we've gotten some big guests right away.
That's true.
But it's that like, the reptile hardcore brain of how we grew up in punk rock that creeps in sometimes, which is the contrarian gene, or you gotta, you almost treat it like a union. Like you gotta work this many years and then you'll get it.
I think me and you talked about this when you were on In Traffic, where like I have to remind myself that I'm worth the money that people offer me. You know what I mean? When someone's like, oh, what's your rate? To stop saying like, oh, whatever you can afford. No. Give them a number. You're worth an amount of money. Like you're providing a service that like you spent years getting good at. Like give them a number.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to just be like, nah, man, just if I just need a place to crash and some spaghetti.
Right. Yeah, we devalue what we do just because. And even though you probably won't do that when you're the tour manager or you're the talent buyer or you're the manager for something outside of your own art. But when it comes down to your own art, it's like you snap into these little things. Probably not as much as we used to, but even before you had said something about getting something you probably don't deserve. You were talking about something in comedy, and it was like that word "deserve" is what
back in the day, right?
like what I'm talking about.
It, right.
And it's like we think we have to earn something, but it's not.
But that's not the case because people now don't earn things; they just get things.
Or it's art. So if people start liking it quicker than the other podcast or comedy or whatever, then people start liking it quicker. It's like whoever. I mean, there's a work. I always think there's a work element to everything. Even if you get something really quick, you got to work to maintain it. If you get, you might have to work for many years to build up. But you always got to add work in at some point.
Anything else you want to do? You want to do the last question?
Go ahead. You got it.
Cool. The name of the podcast is If I Ruled the World. We ask all our guests, if I ruled the world, what would you do? So today, Neil Rubenstein, we're going to ask you, if you ruled the world, what would that look like?
Okay, so can you define ruling the world?
This is a Rorschach test. The way you hear it, the way you receive it, the way you answer it shows a lot about you. So I can't give you much more than the question.
So if I was just Bran the Broken and the whole world was Westeros, or like if I was Donald Trump? Because, I mean, he rules the world right now. Everyone's at his whim.
But he doesn't rule the world inside himself,
He doesn't. He certainly doesn't.
No, it depends. It could be a political answer. It could just be fantasy. I want to have, X-ray vision. It could be your own personal world that you want to rule. You tell me.
I don't know, man. I don't. Yeah, that's too much for me.
It's
handle.
broad. I couldn't answer it.
I can't answer it because I can't even. I mean, I have like my kidnap the rich and redistribute wealth theories and stuff, but like even that, it's like, well, I don't know if that's gonna work. Like, I like the idea because in all fairness, there's a riot involved.
If you give my mom money, she's gonna blow it regardless.
But that's it. To me, this is a thing.
Go for it, Neil.
Go ahead.
Why stop now?
Right.
This is an art. Go ahead.
So I say redistribute the wealth because the people who hoard wealth don't understand that they will get it back immediately. You know what I'm saying?
I don't understand.
The people who hoard wealth are the people who own giant corporations.
Right.
If they redistributed the wealth to the working class, those people spend all their money.
Right.
5% will be like, oh, this is a gift and we should save this. 95% will just go back to Walmart and spend that money again. Whether it's buying a new mobile home on property that they don't own, or buying, opening a restaurant in a space that will end up eating themselves. You know what I mean? Like, that money will go back to the people whose money originally was. But in the meantime, it will spur the economy to like a great level, and people will be able to get out of some of the debt. But we're all just going to go right back into debt. So like, give us the money. You're not doing anything with it anyway. You're hoarding the money. That's the problem with the top 0.1% controlling all the money, is that they're not doing anything with it. If it was Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett, where they're like putting it into other things and spending it in charities and philanthropy, that's one thing. But 95% of those people are just hoarding it. So if they redistributed it, 40% of their wealth, or whatever the F the number is, to the working class. I'm not saying poor. I'm not saying poverty line. I'm not saying drug addicts. I'm saying if there was a way to figure it out, to give it to working. Everyone who gets a paycheck in the next 9 months gets a bonus paycheck of $40,000 or whatever the number is. That money is just going to go right back to the wealthy over time. Like they're gonna get it back. That's why they're rich to begin with.
Well,
So Neil's a socialist.
that's it.
I got it.
Absolutely.
It's a hippie
You're the king. If you rule the world, that's good.
See, you do know what to do.
I thought it was going to be more like a comedy routine at every brothel, but I guess that didn't really work out.
I
Well,
thought it was going to be kidnap the rich.
Well, it
and
all starts with kidnap the rich and hold them for ransom. That's
Yeah.
that's the start of it.
there's
But
people tied up and
there's definitely
tied down.
Also,
definitely
one
beatings.
very last thing. Why is Too Fast for Love the best rock record of all time?
It's the most important rock record
Why?
because everything's time and place, right? It's like everything that happens because of time and place. So like if Led Zeppelin didn't happen when Led Zeppelin didn't happen, the things that came from Led Zeppelin wouldn't have came, right? Motley Crue, I propose that if there was no Led Zeppelin, there was someone else that would have taken that mantle. If there was no Black Sabbath, there was something else that would have taken that mantle. If there was no Motley Crue, the next closest thing is Judas Priest. And I don't think American rock responds to a British band the way they responded to sleaze rockers.
Yeah.
I think if there's no Motley Crue, there's no Guns N' Roses. I think if there's no Motley Crue, there's no Cinderella, which would be the next in line for the Guns N' Roses. I think if there's no Motley Crue, Metallica doesn't go in the direction that they go, which is like the 180 juxtaposition of Motley Crue, the anti-sleaze. If there's no Motley Crue, if there's no Too Fast for Love, everything that we listen to in the rock genre doesn't happen in the order it happens.
That's amazing.
No hesitation.
No, that's it. I've been waiting for this answer for so long, and yeah, I guess so. That record comes out, and for like 8-9 years after that, everything that came after it, it makes sense. So,
And like even I still to this day, the first Quicksand 7-inch is the first 4 songs off of Too Fast for Love. Replace the guitar solo with a noise solo. Everything else, same thing. Same song structure, same it's Motley Crue is post-hardcore before hardcore.
interesting.
That I did not know.
Yeah, take that for the end of the podcast.
That's what I think.
Thank you for
That was
crafting
great.
that answer while we committed art. Cool.
Thanks, Neil.
If I ruled the world, I love 'em, baby.